Alright, so we just saw the new FNAF Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, and we're gonna be reviewing that right now if it's worth watching or not. And right away off the bat, I'd say it's like a it's like a 50-50 worth watching. If you're a fan of FNAF and the franchise, you'll enjoy the movie. If you're not, maybe, probably, maybe not. It's not it's not a scary movie in my opinion. There's some decent scary bits, but if you're I don't know, it's not really a movie made for horror fans, I wouldn't say, or any other fan base other than FNAF fans. So if you're not a FNAF fan, you might have a good time, but it's not gonna be memorable, probably. But that's my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I'd agree basically exactly the same. I'd say that if you're a fan, you're going to absolutely love it. There's lots of stuff that happens in it that like takes you back to the actual games and all the lore and stuff, which makes you really, really want to watch it if you're a fan. But if you're not a fan, yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy it that much. Because I mean, like, there's if I wasn't a fan, I could tell you right now, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed that movie a ton. There's
Yeah.
lots of aspects of both that one. I agree with this in the first one too for a decent portion of that. Like, there's a lot of parts in both movies where it's like, if I wasn't a fan, I would not particularly be enjoying it. But as a fan, I love it no matter what. Basically, it could be the worst movie
Yeah.
ever created, and I'd still enjoy it. So
Yeah,
that's my take.
this movie opened up to a rough, I think it's like 11 to
Yeah,
14%
it's
on
somewhere
Rotten
right in
Tomatoes
there.
for critics, which critics you usually it's kind of meaningless in today's day and age. Just pay attention to what the fans and the people that like the actual real people that go and watch the movie think. And no surprise that the fans got it a pretty good rating. Like I think it's at
It was
89%,
something right around there, high 80s.
which makes sense. I mean, the FNAF fan base is probably one of the most loyal and kind of glazing fan base in the entire world. I think this movie could have been a lot worse, but I also think it could have been a lot better. But it is kind of just a love letter to the fans. Same with the original. It has a lot of really good callbacks that I appreciate a lot. A lot of just really cool little hints. Once we get into the spoilers a bit more, I'll get into my gripes and my compliments about each aspect. But that's kind of my initial thoughts.
I really liked the movie. um, I don't know. I was sitting there laughing, giggling the whole time, because it just connected all of with the game, all the game stuff. Um, I remember in the first movie, the fan base thought it wasn't scary enough, so they tried to add more jump scares in. And personally, as someone that's very jumpy, it got me a lot. Um, but I really, really liked it. So that's my opinion.
So like I didn't watch the first one. I really wanted to, but I didn't. So I watched like a
We watched the kill count for
yeah.
Shout
And
out dead meat.
it.
from not watching the first one, I think it's really good. I don't know. I just really like movies though, and I don't know necessarily a ton about the games, but I know enough about them to make everything like make sense.
Okay, so we all think okay. Well, Treasure has a different opinion, but other three of us. Well, what was your? Did you? Was it like a? Would you watch if you weren't?
I
a
played the
fan?
first two games for sure.
Okay, so I wouldn't watch if I wasn't a fan because I'd be really confused, very confused. But as a big fan, I would watch it and I loved it. But as someone, if you didn't play the games, didn't know anything about it, I'd be confused as fart.
So we're gonna get into spoilers now a little bit, and I'm gonna play a little bit of hardball here. I know everyone in the cars, except Treasure, is a pretty big FNAF fan, myself included. I've been a fan since I was like 12 years old. So this franchise means a lot to me, but I genuinely don't want to just cut it slack just because I love it. Because of what it means to me, I want to be kind of objective, and objectively there were some issues I had with the movie. Mainly just some plot points and character decisions and stuff that was kind of questionable in my opinion. The biggest one that immediately to me was like, what are you doing? Is like towards the end of the movie. I'm kind of jumping way towards the end here, but I want to get some of my gripes out before I talk about what I did like about it. When Mike comes through and like it's kind of the final act a bit where they're all like the marionette is just tearing stuff up, and Mike comes in with the music box to like tame the marionette essentially, and he gets it to release his sister Abby, but immediately after that, it you see it get away, and he closes the music box and sets it on the table next to him and immediately just leaves it there. That is the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. That is like you're fighting someone with a gun. You have a gun as well. You shoot them once, they run around a corner, then you set your gun down and go just I like go, "Oh my gosh, are you okay, sister?" Dude, they could come back at any moment and just snap your neck because you don't have the music box on. Just even if you set it down, leave it on. Just leave it on. Like it acts as a kind of force field for you guys that'll keep it away, keep it at bay. But that is like just immediately from just coming out of the movie, immediately I can point at that and be like, that makes no sense to me. Why he would do that. I kind of understand it from a filmmaking perspective. You don't want that music over the entire time, but it's I don't know. I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of like, oh my gosh, this music's getting annoying than that makes no sense. They're literally gonna die now.
I understand the reasons for them wanting to like close it and like they want the thing to get away so they can use like the marionette again or whatever. But if they were gonna take the music box away and like close it, whatever, I don't think he should have just closed it and set it on the floor. I feel like something else should have happened. That the music box should have closed. You know,
Yeah.
like
Like,
he
accidentally
actually
knocked
like
over or
dropped it or
something.
like it. You know,
Yeah. Like it literally could have swatted it out of his hand as it
Yeah.
was running away
Yeah,
or
that-
something. Like something that just makes more sense than him closing and just leaving it there.
because now it's one of those just stupid tropes where a character does an extremely stupid decision rather than like a thing actually impacting and making it like
Yeah.
there was no point in that.
Like, instead of giving it kind of like a creative ending, they just kind of closed the music box, put it down, and was like, okay, now this is what we're going to use to make, like, push into the next movie. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, it got knocked down and busted, and now we're transitioning into a new movie. It would have been better if something like that happened, in my opinion.
So that was one thing you wanted to mention. Was there any other big gripes that you had with it?
Yeah, I think just overall kind of my biggest gripes is the movie felt a little bit like campy at times, which it is a Blumhouse movie, but I do wish um the writing around like the character interactions like with Mike and Vanessa, it just felt like very kind of back of the mind stuff where it was like when Vanessa was telling Mike about Abby going to this like the different location and he just immediately shut her down like no she's struck that makes no sense to me why you would just immediately shut her down and not hear her out. Like you've both been through this before. What makes you think she's like making it up that Abby would she literally the night before she left the house and left you that note saying I'm going to go try and fix them. And you just refused to believe that she would leave the house again to try and go and see the animatronics again. Like
That's very true.
it that makes no like the conflict between Vanessa and Mike this movie feels so forced to me. Like I get the untrust of like she's not telling him everything, but to just be like don't ever talk to us again. We can't trust you when she literally chose you over her own brother 5 seconds earlier makes no sense to me. Like I'd be like mad at her, but dude, she is one of your biggest assets against this. You need her, and just like it just doesn't make sense to me. I get it, but it could have been executed so much better. The distrust kind of I think the movie needed a longer runtime. I'll say that. I think it needed a longer runtime. I think it tried to do a lot in a little amount of time, and a lot of things felt unpolished and very like just rushed. It that's probably my biggest gripes is just the interactions between the characters was lackluster to me anyways. I felt like they could have done a lot better with kind of getting their emotional like state and minds and feelings and everything just better. None of them really felt super real to me, if that makes sense. Like I know you know the characters from the first one, but you don't get any time to kind of like reattach to these characters. You're just kind of like expected to be attached to them from the 1st one, and really like nothing is kind of like explored with them at all. Like Mike was he was a very flat character this movie, in my opinion. And I mean, he didn't need to go through a huge character arc or anything like that, but he just felt kind of flat. Abby was just the same as the first one, just in love with the animatronics. Vanessa had more depth, showing her relationship between her father, but again, I feel like it wasn't explored enough. Where if you don't know the games, you don't know the lore, it's gonna feel like, why should I care? Why would I care? But knowing the lore, you understand why everything matters. But it still feels flat to me. I like that they brought Michael Afton back, or I guess introduced him, not brought him back. Um, but again, he felt like a character that was very flat, just kind of like villain for the sake of being a villain. Especially if the theories about him in the games are correct, I think he could have been a lot more interesting of a character than he was. Just underutilized and kind of just generic villain.
He was just there and then he was gone.
His intentions were questionable because he was like scared of the animatronics, but helping them. And then at the end of the movie, he's just buddy buddy with them for no apparent reason other than it was his father's will, which, if you know the game lore at all, makes no sense at all. He is kind of the protagonist of the games. He is the redemption character. He was corrupted at a young age by his father and ended up getting his younger brother killed, and that kind of leads him to turn around after a bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to get into. But he is trying to track down his father, William Afton, and end William Afton's reign of corruption and terror and killing. So he is the hero in the video games, and in this, he's just a generic villain, which is underwhelming to me. Yeah, I think Michael Afton could have played a bigger part, or just had some more substance to why he chose to be evil, even other than my dad was evil, so I'm evil.
I think with these characters, like with Michael, and then you also having like Mike, Vanessa, there's all like the main cast. You need a longer movie, like you were saying, like more runtime. If you want to actually develop the characters, which it seems like the movies do, because it bases almost entirely around them, you need to have a longer runtime to like flesh out more of each character. Whereas in this, it felt like they were trying to balance too much of, oh, this is FNAF, and then too much of the characters. Whereas you need a longer movie if you're going to try and balance both those things. So that's why the characters don't feel like showcased in the aspects they should, and all of that stuff. And yeah, with Michael, if you didn't know the lore at all, Michael would be like, he's in like 3 parts of the movie that are like minuscule parts, like less than like 5 minutes each time you see him. It's like, who even is this character? I mean, you could say like, oh, he's eerie, he's cool in that aspect, but unless you know the films, it's not interesting at all. And so that's my gripes, because I agree with all of what you guys were saying. So that would be my addition onto that. So I don't know if we want to get into the good stuff now, unless you had more to input on the bad stuff.
I know some people are gonna have some issues with the overarching plot line of like the animatronics being kind of remotely controlled by the marionette, and then like at the end the original animatronics come in and fight them, and that being kind of cheesy. But I appreciate it to a certain degree. Like I enjoyed it from the perspective of a FNAF fan. Lore wise, to some degree, it makes sense, but it's not really what you're worried about. It reminds me of like the videos I'd watch when I was a kid of like FNAF 1 versus FNAF 2 animatronics and
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
that. So I don't mind that. I would love if the FNAF movie was like very dark and gritty and scary, like really leaned into the horror elements. But I didn't go into this movie expecting that. They're gearing towards a younger audience. Um, I do think there's something to be said about a majority of current FNAF fans are older, but I do still think there's just as large of a young audience, and they're trying to cater to everyone. So that is a hard task for them to achieve, and I understand. I think they did a decent job of trying to cater to all ages. I mean, we shared an audience with a bunch of kids, and they seemed to love it. And
It's true.
yeah, I liked it. I did like the movie. As a FNAF fan, I liked it a lot. It was entertaining. I do have a lot of complaints, like you heard. One thing I really liked was a lot of like quotes or call outs
Yeah,
to the
that was
game.
some of the best.
Like
Yep.
it's hard to remember exact quotes. There was a couple times where the quotes were like verbatim from the game, and I appreciate that. I also loved the scene where Mike has the Freddy plush and he squeezes it and it sings the little Freddy
Oh, that
song.
was hilarious,
like the
dude. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I like the withered. I do wish, and what I originally thought, which it makes sense they didn't do it, but I originally thought the withered animatronics were gonna be the original animatronics, that got like just torn apart. Kind of, it makes sense they didn't go that route because even in the games, that's how it is. The withered animatronics came before the originals, and so it makes sense. But it was kind of a little bit lame, in my opinion, that even the withereds were remotely controlled. Like I don't really mind the toys being remotely controlled. It makes sense though. I just wish we saw more of them and saw like a little bit like of a scarier side.
We didn't see much of the withered ones. Like we saw them in that room.
Yeah, and like they said, we didn't see much of them. There's like one, probably like 5 minutes worth of screen time, maybe, for them. But they did look amazing.
Mhm.
Like they looked phenomenal.
I will say that is arguably my favorite part of the whole entire movie is when Mike is in the office and then it's like just it's literally just FNAF 2, like the game all over, and it showcases it, I think, in a really good way, and it's not like too long of a sequence throughout the movie, and I think everything was executed perfectly there. I thought that was extremely entertaining, especially from a fan standpoint. So
I know there was when he went to like grab them when he like looked over and saw the mask. I was like, put the mask on, because it's like I was just like, do it, and he did, and that made me like my inner child like giggle because I was like, yes, they like followed it.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot. I think I wanted Mike to be a little bit more like kind of like you're playing a game, a little bit more where he's like grabbing the flashlight, kind of.
yeah,
But it was really just one scene where he like grabs the mask. He was, I don't know. I was like a little bit like, dude, they're standing right there, and he's just ignoring them and going on the
bro, I'd be
computer.
terrified.
I'm like, bro, just put the mask on, bro. Put the mask on and flash the light.
yeah,
But
flashlight of Foxy, bro.
yeah, yeah, I was interested to see. I was like, how are they gonna have Mike learn that the mask doesn't work on Foxy? Because in the game you just die and then you're like, okay,
Yeah,
it doesn't
literally,
work.
That's how you have to learn. Yeah,
But I think they did it pretty well. It was a nice little. I mean, the whole movie is just a love letter to the fans. Yeah, like they said, a lot of little Easter eggs for you to pick out. I liked the movie a lot. I think the ending was like a very big like cliffhanger it's supposed to be, but kind of an annoying one where I was like, that could have been prevented.
yeah.
Very easily could have been prevented.
I
Which
also
is
feel
a
like
little
the ending
annoying.
was really rushed.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they just were trying to get everything to an end point, and it didn't feel like it was like ending.
Yeah.
It was rushed.
Like I kind of wonder how they're gonna transition into Charlotte or the marionette being inside Vanessa. Like how are they gonna make the third movie based off of what just happened?
I'm hoping that it's not going to be a repeat of this one in terms of because they're going to have another plot point then with Vanessa being controlled by the marionette. So that's going to be another thing that's added on to the after credit scene with Springtrap obviously being a
Mhm.
big portion of the third movie if you know the lore and all that and what you see at the end. So they're going to have to both be in the same movie, both of those things. And I'm really hoping that they know how to deal with that and with the runtime of the movie and with development and all of that.
I
But
really hope it's not rushed like this one was.
I agree.
I unfortunately think it will be. I
Yeah.
think these movies have each been given about an hour and 30 minutes of time to use, and that's all they get. I love that after credit scene with Springtrap. He looks amazing.
That was so good.
He looks really good.
And there was that one of those quotes that was from directly from the game where it's like, I found a real one. I think I
Yep,
found a
yeah.
real one.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one.
That was,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, that was such a good moment.
Yeah, the Henry's message,
Mm,
that was pretty good. It wasn't like a direct quote from the game, obviously, because it was addressed to Mike within the film, but it was cool. It was like a recording, just like it reminded me of Five Nights at Freddy's 6, where he's like, start the audio recording. This is a recorded message, when you're doing all the tests with the animatronics and stuff. And like they obviously just FNAF 6 in general, there's a lot of those quotes, but it was a good recording. It was good to see Henry, and it was also, I didn't know if he was going to address it, because when he talked to Mike, he wasn't like, oh, by the way, I worked with that
yeah,
guy.
exactly.
Like, so I was like a little like, he's just going to leave that out, but at the end of the movie, he does. Like, sorry, Mike, I didn't have time to tell you, but I worked with William Afton. We created these, and I liked that a lot, that little ending, because it really, like, for anyone who doesn't know going into the movie, that he's Henry and that he created or helped create the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. It's just a little bit of extra detail that was needed, in my opinion. I liked a lot of pieces of this, not a big fan of the whole the whole product, but I liked a lot of pieces of it. From an objective movie standpoint, it's probably like a middle of the road movie.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I liked it a lot.
Yep.
It's a good movie to me. I enjoyed it.
Because it feeds my inner childhood, whether the actual movie is fantastic or not. There's, like you were saying, there's different bits and pieces of it that make me enjoy it enough where I loved a lot of it. So
unfortunately or fortunately, this is a franchise where they could serve me garbage and I'd be happy.
That's exactly true. Exactly true.
I always make fun of people who like just take slop and eat it happily, but I can't help but enjoy this. And I wouldn't call this slop, but I wouldn't call it prestige or perfect or any of those words at all. But it's just a fun movie. It's really fun. Like Treasure said, I do think you could enjoy it even if you're not a fan, just because it's just a fun movie, but it's not perfect.
I really hope that the third movie is better or equally as good and not like trash, because like a lot of the times when people make like 2 or 3 movies or they like continue on, they kind of become worse, and FNAF has a lot of games with a lot of important lore in it, and I'm also really excited and hoping that they make a sister location.
Very true.
I really like that game, so I hope that they get there eventually.
Also, Baby making an appearance in this movie, that was insane. That was like another great moment.
I was like kicking my feet. I was like, no way.
Adding on to what they said, I personally think just as a side thought, but I personally think the first FNAF movie is better than this one. Just from an objective standpoint, I think the plot was a lot better than this one.
And like a lot more deeper.
I agree.
Adding on to what they said, like with Baby, because I mean, like, they didn't tell us about Michael Afton in the first one, and then it was revealed in this one, and she's like, yeah, I didn't tell you about my brother, but in the game, she also has a younger sister, and in the game, she has a younger brother. Well, in the game, Vanessa isn't even related to them, to be fair, but in the game, it's Michael Afton, his younger brother, and his younger sister that got taken by Baby. So I wonder if that'll come into play at all. At the beginning of the movie, when Charlotte the marionette dies, it takes place in 1982, And in the lore of FNAF, that's not a specific prevalent date we've known about. In the game, I'm pretty sure Michael's youngest brother dies in 1983 to Fredbear, which is what I was kind of getting a little bit confused by, because I think the whole fan base assumed Fredbear's family diner existed before any of the Freddy Fazbear, but it either exists in conjunction with the Freddy Fazbear Diner.
Dude, we all just need to watch the
Yeah.
Matt Pat video again, dude.
Yeah.
I actually should know this, man.
The bite of 83 is when he died.
Yep.
And then there is a bite of 87, but that's
That's
when that
Mangle.
Mangle, yeah.
Well, we still don't know for sure, but it's theorized to be
Yeah.
Mangle. I'm excited for the next movie. I'm excited to see Springtrap back again. I think he's an incredible strong point for this franchise, and I hope they utilize him a lot in the next movie. I assume so, because I assume it's going to be Fredbear's Fright, the horror attraction that showcased Springtrap in the video games, and I'm excited to see what they do with that. I'm not so excited to see the continuation of the marionette possessing Vanessa. Not what I probably would have chose to do with that, but that's okay. I'm not making the movies. I'm just watching and enjoying them. I'm especially excited if I think these movies are just a guaranteed success. The fan base will watch them, like I said, no matter what. I hope they make a movie with the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 animatronics. At least they make a feature, because I want to see how they recreate those animatronics.
Heavily agree.
In a live action sense, because that was like the game that really got me hooked, because that was like the first Five Nights at Freddy's game that genuinely was like, this is terrifying.
Yeah, I won't be going to Five Nights at Freddy's 4 if they do make a movie for it.
Overall, it's a fine movie. It's nothing special, but it's not the worst
Yeah.
horror movie ever, or even close to it. It's enjoyable, especially if you're a FNAF fan. I think even if you're not, and you just like a little bit of a thrill and like the idea of possessed animatronics, you're gonna like it.
It's true.
It's fun. It's got its issues, but it's fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. So, those are my thoughts.
I agree. All right.
See you guys in
See
the
ya,
next
peace.
video.